Did you know that gardening can improve mental health? So you might say, yeah, of course. I mean, you get outdoors, you got your hand in the soils, you're digging, you're having a good time. Well, here's the thing. There's actually science to show that there's a mycobacterium baccae that you actually breathe in that helps release serotonin, the happy chemical, and that helps lift your mood. So when you're out there digging in the soil and you're kind of like content, it's because there is a whole science behind that. And I want to go through today, Joe from RxHealthyHabits, and talk about something I think a lot of people overlook, and that is called earth-centered health practices. Now, of course, a lot of people say, well, that's just a bunch of, hippie stuff or just a bunch of new age. No, there's a lot of science around this. And this all comes from, in my case, from my parents who were very much into doing many things outdoors. My dad used to say, get away from that idiot box of television. Get outside and go play in the yard, go in the hill in the forest over there, or go do some things down by the pond. He wanted us outdoors doing things and being part of nature, and they were raised that way. Both of them lived to be in their 80s and 90s, and my great-grandparents, same thing. And I think a lot of it had to do with their earth-centered focus because they were very much into, that whole aspect of their life, more so than they were indoors. So anytime they could, they'd be outdoors, but also in places where they could feel, smell, touch, experience. So here's the problem. You know this already. We live in a culture, on our fast-paced culture right now in society, that's very much keeps us indoors too much of the time. And there's a lack of exposure to nature, which really has a big impact. I think we lose a calming effect because we're not there. And here's one that I think is a big problem. We don't get daily experience that can help reduce our stress levels to being outside and feeling, touching, smelling. Disconnection that leads, this is a big problem, the disconnection leads to an imbalance and kind of like a little bit of a disorientation and alienation. Some people can't put their finger on it, but many times I tend to think that's part of the problem, is they're not just doing enough things to get centered. So how do you do this? Well, we're going to get into that in a minute, but I think one of the biggest things is to really think about, to counteract some of the negative things we have when it comes to stress and anxiety, we really need to focus on this and say, how can we make this part of it? There's some tenets to earth-centered practices, connecting with nature. Number one, that's part of the basic tenet, but also you have to integrate it. That's a basic tenet that a lot of people don't really understand about earth-centered practices for health. And then the holistic part of it. This is huge. This is another basic tenet. They tend to look at the whole picture, mind, body, and spirit, when it comes to their overall sense of well-being and health, not just traditional, treating medication. So it's a whole different mindset. It's thinking about the whole thing. And a lot of times they'll attribute some of their problems to not really having a balance there of mind, body, and spirit. And of course, when somebody's doing earth-centered practices, they tend to be much more centered on that holistic mindset. So here's some things. Practical steps. I'm going to go through these quick. One is to do outdoor meditation. Some people can take their meditation outdoors. They say many of them. And I've been to Sonoma, and I see some of the people there doing some outdoor meditation. It looks like it's very popular and very fruitful because a lot of people do it. Earthing or grounding, that's where you actually take your shoes and socks off and walk barefoot on the grass, sand, or soil. You go to the beach, you love walking on the beach with your bare feet. I do anyway. You absorb the energy. That's what the thought is there's an energy that you're getting. It really helps to reduce inflammation, improve sleep, and enhance mood. They've shown this in studies that, really grounding with the earth really does help. I can explain it probably from the standpoint of neurotransmitters, but we don't have time. Here's one. Wilderness therapy, where you actually guided training professionals to take you way out, engage in some activities that you don't normally do in the wilderness, and there's some group therapy associated with it. Isn't that kind of cool? That's something where people that maybe are really always indoors a lot, they actually do a wilderness experience, and they all rave about it. So here's another one, nature immersion retreats. So a lot of times for spirituality, some people are taking these outdoors and having a whole thing out there where they immerse in the natural world while they're doing their retreat. Kind of cool. Here's one, grounding morning ritual. Try to find a way for a few minutes to connect. Barefoot walking, mindful breathing, something that you do on a daily basis in the morning to ground yourself before you start your day. In my case, it's out on my bike. I don't know, I just love the sights, the sounds, the smells of being out there, but also, I love doing that because I have to have that first thing in the morning. The next thing is nature breaks. Throughout the day, can you walk outdoors? The sad part about me to be in the pharmacy is I can't leave the pharmacy. So I wish I could just walk outdoors for 5 minutes and sit on the bench and just feel the sunshine. It would be so much better. But try to find a way to do that for yourself. Herbal remedies are a big thing. People love that are into Earth Center. They want to take stuff from nature and use it in their bodies to help with disease states. Well, that's their own idea. There's medication too, but there's sometimes where they want to do that for also just for wellness. They take certain things that are from Earth, herbals. obviously. Eco-friendly practices, most people that are into earth-centered practices also believe that if they live an eco-friendly lifestyle, they tend to be more connected because they tend to understand the value. That's interesting. I think it's a great idea, and it's a great thing to incorporate if you're trying to really become earth-centered with your health. And the last thing is mindful movement outdoors. So any activities you can do outdoors. I'm a big one, even in the wintertime here when it's kind of cool, it's 50 degrees or 40 degrees and windy. I still would prefer to be outdoors exercising versus inside in the gym. Always, 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 always. So mindful movement outdoors is so important. So here's the last thing. Call to action. Here's the simple call to action I'm going to suggest to you. Try to do at least one earth-centered practice in your daily routine. Try to incorporate just one earth-centered practice into your daily routine. And all this, again, is a blog on the website, RxHealthyHabits.com, so you can see about some of the different things we just went over. But I'm going to encourage you, start being mindful of the fact that, hey, for your health and your well-being, probably start to incorporate more earth-centered practices, and I guarantee you'll see improvement in your health from a mental standpoint, and I'm going to say also from a physical standpoint. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this information, and as always, come to our website, sign up for our email, and we'll see you outdoors really loving and really helping create an earth-centered health.